Hi everyone, I'm Thomas Fauchet from Godard. In this talk, I'm going to present the result of the TIE intercomparison for the habitable cases AB1 and AB2. First of all, I would like to thank all my colleagues here that have run with me the GCM simulation and helped to interpret the data. So also, I would like to invite you to watch first this video that you can find on the main page of the website. This video is going to show you what is TIE, where it came from, what are the different objectives and resources. Also, before my talk, you will find Martin Turbet's talk on the TIE BEN1 and BEN2 cases that are the dry cases of the intercomparison, and so without cloud and water, in order to understand the GCM in absence of these particular features. Okay, now let's take a look to AB1 and AB2. So first, we have one benchmark planet, which is TRAPPIST-1e, because it's one of the best targets for JWST atmospheric characterization. Also, we have 4 GCMs. We have EXOCHAM, which is developed by Eric Wolf, based on the NCAR model. We have the LMD generic model in France, the Rocky 3D model at NASAKIS, and the Unify model at METOFIS in UK. And we have 2 atmospheric compositions for these AB cases. AB1, which is the modern Earth, 1 bar of nitrogen, 400 ppm of CO2, and AB2, which is 1 bar of CO2 at the surface. Okay, let's start to look at this intercomparison from the top with the outgoing long wave radiation in clear sky. So here we are seeing 4 different maps for each of the model centered at the substellar point. I also mentioned the minimum value, mean, and max value for each of them. You can see that overall they are in pretty good agreement, but that the distribution of the OLR is different because each model will have a different efficiency to transport the heat from the day side to the night side. You can see, for example, in here, the OLR is much lower in the night side of the planet. We can now look as well in a cloudy sky. Of course, when you have clouds here formed at the substellar point because of the massive convection, the planet is steadily locked, you have cloud blocking a lot of the infrared radiation emitted by the surface, and so that contributes to reduce the OLR. Talking about clouds, we can look at the cloud water path, which is the integration of the cloud water from the top to the bottom for both liquid and ice. And here we start to see that clouds are going to be very different between the models in terms of minimum, maximum value, and average, but also in terms of distribution. We see, however, that LMDG, EXOCHAM, and AUM seems to share about the same distribution of clouds, which is actually, we'll see later, they share the same rotational regime as a Rhine rotator, where you still have a dense convection near the substellar point, but you break the symmetry between west and east hemisphere just because of the more rotational forces. Rocky 3D, however, looks different because it's actually in a fast rotation regime. So you see that the cloud deck is constrained between 30 degrees north and south, and you still start to have some bands pattern here, like we have on Earth, which is a fast rotator with a 24-hour rotation period. Also, Rocky 3D produces much more clouds here. We can see that more clearly in a linear scale. And we see also that LMDG produces much less clouds because it actually uses a convective adjustment scheme, contrary to the other model that use a mass flux, is that lead to an underestimation of the amount of clouds at the substellar point. Okay, now let's take a look a little bit more closely to this circulation regime. So on Earth, we have what we call the Walker circulation, which is the one which is parallel to the equator. So on Earth, it's a transient event because the sun is always moving at different places in time and as a function of the season. In this example here, on the Southeast Asia, you have a lot of heating. And so that creates a lot of convection in the air and moisture rays here until reaching the tropopause, and it does not have any other choice than going either west or east. And so at some point, it's going to come back down and coming back after near the surface back to the origins of the convection. It's different for a tidally locked planet like TRAPPIST-1e. The Walker circulation will be always fixed and not transient. And here we have represented the mean zonal circulation, MZC. In blue, you see the cell is actually showing a clockwise circulation that way, while the red is actually showing anti-clockwise circulation. We see that LMDG, Exocam, and UM shows the same kind of circulation, but it's different for Rocky 3D. For these three here in Rhine rotation, so the Walker circulation really encompasses both hemispheres from the day side to the night side. However, for Rocky 3D, it's not the case. The rotation is really limited to one hemisphere, and you have also some downward motion near the substellar point, and this is a sign of the fast rotation. And so why these differences? Well, actually, it's not because the models are so different. It's just because TRAPPIST-1E is a very specific location, just at the edge between a rapid rotator and a Rhine rotator. And so this is a figure from Denis Sergeev 2020 paper with the UM model. And so they just have changed the parametrization of the convection as a substellar point. And this was enough to place the model either in a rapid rotator regime or Rhine rotator regime. So it's extremely sensitive, even for the same model, depending on how your convection is parameterized, you get a different answer. And so we can also see that in between the model, if we look at the 250 hectopascal winds in the jet, Rocky 3D has a very well-defined jet here structure in a super rotation, while the others are actually weaker. We can see here the gears here on the west hemisphere. That's a sign of a weaker dynamical regime. And so, yes, and so we see the differences in surface temperature, but with very close mean value, as you can see. So the climate have a very good agreement. The dynamic is slightly different, but it's very due to the specific point of TRAPPIST-1E. Okay, now let's take a look to the terminator profiles, because that's what's going to be very important for the transmission spectra. If you look on the left side, I show the west terminator and east terminator for the temperature profile at the top and the specific humidity at the bottom. Of course, we have an asymmetry between west and east terminator just due to the rotation of the atmosphere. We see a nice temperature inversion near the surface here at the terminator, because you have the warm air from the day side is advected toward the night side, and you end up with the first layer of the atmosphere warmer than the surface itself. If you look at the specific humidity, we see that there are different levels depending on the GCM. Exocam is the one that produces the most water vapor, following by LMDG, UM, and Rocky 3D. Now let's take a look to clouds. Here on the top, you have liquid water cloud and the bottom ice water cloud. Here we can clearly see that Exocam is going to dominate in both the density of cloud and the altitude. And after it's followed by LMDG and then Rocky 3D UM. And so this is going to be very important, because the thickness of the clouds and their altitude is going to drive where the continuum level of the spectrum will be. And so very cloudy and high cloud model will have a higher continuum level in the transmission spectrum. Is that exactly what we are seeing here on this transmission spectra simulated for each of the GCM by the PSG model. On the Y left axis, you see the atmospheric transit depth in ppm, and on the right, the atmospheric thickness in kilometer. And as I said, Exocam here has the highest continuum level because it has the highest cloud top and cloud thickness, following by LMDG, by Rocky 3D and UM. And so this is very interesting, because if you remember at the substellar point, I said that LMDG has a much less cloud because of its convection scheme, and in Rocky 3D actually produces a lot of clouds, but that does not look like that at the terminator. So to me, actually what matters at the terminator would be probably more the stratiform clouds here, and so LMDG at the end up to be more cloudy at the terminator than Rocky 3D. Of course, if we want to estimate the number of transits that will be needed to detect such atmosphere, thanks to the 4.2 micron CO2 line, we need to extend a little bit the top of the model, because GCM unfortunately goes only to 1 Pascal or so at the top of the model. It's not enough to fully capture the transmission spectrum. And so we assume the atmosphere to be either thermal above, and we fix the mixing ratio of the gas, the dry gas. We also decreased the resolving power down to 30 in order to maximize the signal-to-noise, and we got this 5 sigma detection number of transit for each of the model. We have 20 transit for Exocam and MDG, 16 transit for Rocky 3D and UM. So it's about 20% differences. And so it's not negligible, but it's still okay overall. Also, I would like to say we don't know which model is closer to the truth or further away. But what is important here is that we put a caveat of if you do a simulation with one GCM and you look at the transmission spectra after that, you can put that in a larger context to know that maybe your estimation is optimistic or pessimistic with respect to the other model. We can also have a quick look to AD2 and 1 bar CO2. And the spectra look quite different because here you have a lot of CO2, you have a much warmer atmosphere, which is also much more moist, you create more clouds, everything is pushed up, and so your continuum level is also raised up. And so this really shrunk a lot of the CO2 line from the bottom. You see also because the mean molecular weight is higher, the cloud top is really sensitive too. And so like we did for AB1, we have extended this cloud top, model top, sorry, to higher level, 10 to the minus 10 bar in that case. And so if we compare our previous number for AB1 to AB2, we still have a similar trend. We have Exocam and MDG need more transit because they are more cloudy, following by Rocky 3D and UM. You can note that the NMDG simulation has to be taken carefully because we found very recently that it did not converge fully. And so we will correct that for the future paper. Okay, now it's time for me to go to the perspective. So I'm going to mention that we are going to write 3 papers out of this intercomparison. The first one will be led by Martin Turbet on the focus on the dry scenario. The second one on the wet scenario will be led by Denis Sergeev. And I will lead the last one on the observable, both transmission, spectra, and thermal phase curves. And finally, I would like to mention that TIE is one of the first intercomparison of the larger framework that we call Cuisines for climate using interactive suites of intercomparison nested for exoplanet studies. So we hope to host more intercomparison like that, not necessarily GCM, but could be 1D model, EBM, even analytical models, as long as they have acronym related to food. All right, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you at the workshop. Thank you.